Salutations everyone, this is Razor here talking about the Battleborn beta. It was available for a few days to play, completely free, open beta, and it was definitely a different experience than I was expecting. With MOBAs being so huge right now, I mean, they're the biggest game, the second biggest game, they're some of the biggest games in the world. It's the genre, and for the last couple of years, a lot of companies have been trying to maximize on that popularity and grab a bit of the market share by releasing their own MOBAs or at least their own twist on it. And for 2016, we're seeing a lot of first-person shooter MOBAs and console MOBAs, even more so, coming out this year. First with Battleborn, and then we have Overwatch, which seems to be lighter on the MOBA aspects and more sort of akin to Team Fortress 2. Then we also have Paragon on the PlayStation 4. So Battleborn, made by the 2K team, as you can tell with the bright colors and and the humor of the characters and the uniqueness of those characters, very, very similar in not so much in style or theme or vibe of, Borderlands, but still, you can definitely see how the same team would have been working on this game, just because of the few similarities that it does have. Now, I expected going into this beta, it's like, I'm gonna try it out. I've already pre-ordered Overwatch. That's the one that I think looks better and looks to be the better game for me. So that's probably what I'm going to be getting. But I'll at least give the Battleborn beta a shot. And the more and more that I play the Battleborn beta, which I had over 6 hours into, it was probably like between 6.5 and 7 hours of this beta that was only out for a few days, I found myself increasingly enjoying myself as my time with the beta went on. It was very specific to what character I was and what game mode I was playing in the amount of enjoyment I had with the game. There were 2 available multiplayer modes in the beta. There's also some single player missions that I didn't really delve into because I knew that this was the meat and potatoes of the game. This is why people are going to buy it. This is what people will be playing. This is what people will be streaming. And if there's a competitive scene to the game, this is what it's going to be about, the multiplayer. The MOBA-esque elements to it. There were 2 different game types. One was called Incursion, which was basically the exact same thing you see in every single MOBA. You and your teammates spawn on this closed arena, and you have minions, and at the end you want to destroy the big thing on your opponent's side of the field that can also fight back. They didn't strive for any uniqueness within that game mode, but you can see why they went with that approach, because that's the most popular thing literally in the gaming world right now. Just look at the numbers with Dota and League of Legends and stuff like that, and as well as other games coming out, because people have started capitalizing on the MOBA scene. These games didn't take a year or 6 months to make, so obviously they started making them a while ago. So we're going to see these and a few more come out before the MOBA scene starts dying down, if it does anytime soon. And I'm not here to speculate on that. But when it comes to the first-person shooter aspects, it was definitely better for me. I've played I have very limited experiences with MOBAs in my time. My first experience with it was with Happy Wars, and that was a very fun game that I can definitely get into, but the pay-to-play was, definitely a problem in there, and just that people would just do more damage and have greater defense if they just put in money into the game. They can get all the best stuff. But it definitely did have its unique charm to it, and I highly enjoyed it. And then Smite came out on consoles, and I was in the closed beta, and to be honest, I was garbage at it. I couldn't get a single kill in the 3 or 4 hours that I had in that game. It just clearly wasn't for me. Everyone else had already perfected, they knew the meta when the beta had been out for a few hours. That's just the way that the betas work, especially when you get into more competitive things. And you hear me going through my skill tree, so it definitely has the same MOBA elements. This game mode is called Meltdown, which has each team spawn on each side of the field, and you have little minions that you want to sacrifice to this recycling machine. You see them on the map. They're these big green and big orange things. And once you sacrificed enough of your robot minions, then you will move on to the next one, and the first person to get, I think what the limit is, 800 or something like that, wins, or the time runs out, because they do have a timer, and the meltdown, timer was a half hour. It never went to time in my time in meltdown. It would go to time in incursion, so that definitely was the longer game mode that would typically take around half an hour to complete. But meltdown was faster. I felt like the action was a lot better. You didn't have to do resource management as much. You didn't have to rely on other things within the game to do work for you. It was definitely more player oriented. You had to destroy the enemy minions. You had to protect your own minions. And of course, stop the other team from killing your minions as well as yourself. And you see me picking up a lot of assists here. I'm the character Oscar Mike. This is definitely my most favorite character within the beta. There was definitely a large variety of characters within the beta, and it took a while to unlock them all. I didn't even lock them all with the 6.5 plus hours that I had with the game. There was at least 2 characters that I did not unlock. The shield and sword chick and Abara, the last healing class. I forget exactly how to say her name. But the last character I unlocked was this Falcon with like a rocket launcher, but I didn't even get to play him. But I did try every character up until that point. So I tried, 8 characters around there, give or take 1 or 2. And they definitely were very, very different from each other. A lot of them were obviously better than others. And people will always shout, it's a beta, they're going to make it, they're going to do balancing. And every time I say, that's not how it works. And every time the game comes out, and what do you know, they barely made any changes, if they did. So I definitely expected it to be, characters that are better than others. Like you have the big, heavy tank dude, which is about as cliche of a MOBA character as you can get, or a class-based first-person shooter. You have this big, muscular dude with this heavy machine gun and a tiny head, and he's just not very good. And he maybe has more health, but he's a lot slower, and he's a huge target. He was just a bad character. He didn't do a lot of damage and was a big, easy target. I liked Oscar Mike because of the DPS he was to pull out, and the fact that the 2 skills that he had, one was offense oriented and one was defense and survivability oriented, where you had a cloak, and as you can see here, I spec'd into immediately recharging shields while activating that cloak. You can still see them, when they're in cloak, so that's not big of a deal, but it definitely helps you get out of dodge with those, high-stress situations where with these kind of games, when you're in a good position, when you're in a bad position. So here, even though there's an enemy turret and I'm, taking a lot of flack, I know that this character doesn't put out a ton of deeps, so I can engage that character a little bit longer than I would with others. And then I go for the cloak. I get instant shield healing, and somebody slows me down. It might have been a turret that was just placed, or a robot, or hers, or teammate's power, or something. And then, once you get to next to some of your minions, you'll get an overcharge. And that was really cool to have that disparity between one power, very offensive, chunk damage, DPS with the grenade launcher. On the other side, you have something that helps you survive and or sneak up on your enemy because, it does have a cloak ability to it as well. Another character that I really liked was Reyna. She had a handgun and a charged gun that would do a lot of shield damage and would mark your opponent so that they would take more damage after getting hit by that shot. And you could also, and your other ability was to put an overshield on one of your teammates. And that was a good mix, once again, between DPS and support. So I really, really liked her as a character as well. Another character that I liked was Orendi, the witch crazy chick with the 4 arms. And she, doesn't do a lot of great damage with her primary attack, but she does good chunk damage with one of her specials, and another one was, did a little bit of damage, but also made her teleport a little bit backwards, so it was kind of like a fire and flight kind of attack. So you definitely could do some decent damage with her in large bursts, and you didn't have to reload with her because she would just throw energy balls with her hands. there were definitely a lot of characters that definitely were very unique, and I think a lot of us can appreciate how incredibly unique these characters were, and that definitely makes it feel more of a MOBA and less of your typical class-based first-person shooter. So that was cool to see. But at the same time, when you have those unique qualities between your characters, there's going to be disparity between, you know, a really good character, a really bad character. For instance, the character Wrath, the old dude who looks like he came off the set of Star Wars Clone Wars, who has the red swords, that dude, every time I saw him, was insanely powerful. He was very, very fast and just did insane DPS. One of the really cool things that they did in this game, and I don't know how many games do this, but not many in the first-person genre recently, is that when you get killed, it gives you a data readout of what did damage to you in how many seconds. So like, you were hit by a turret for 200 damage, you were hit by this enemy for 400 damage and this other enemy by 600 damage or whatever, and it happened, you know, in 16.81 seconds. You know, that's the kind of readout that it gives you, and that's really cool. So you get to see, you know, why you died, you know, were you taking damage from an additional resource that you previously didn't see, or what have you like that. But it also showed you someone like Wrath, who, you know, wasn't using a super or any, you know, exhaustible things. He was just attacking with his primary, and he was really, really fast, and he could kill you at full health and shields in under 3 seconds. I felt that that might have been a little bit unfair in the character balances. Sure, he wouldn't be great at long range because he just has the swords, and one of the only longer range attacks that you have is left bumper attack. Didn't have fantastic range, and of course has a, you know, a significant cooldown. And some characters had longer cooldowns than others, like Reyna's cooldowns were very, very quick, and I loved that about her. So that was a good balance of both skill and fairness to the other team. And here we are, just starting to wreck into them because we have such a huge margin of victory here, and I just overextended my stay within their spawn, and that turret took me out. So, you know, a little risky, but I was just trying to, you know, get a cheeky little kill there at the end before I was going to die. So definitely a bigger fan of some characters than others. You got this puppet character that I'm watching right now. He was okay, but, you know, not too great or not too bad in my eyes. This was one of the healing classes. This chick right here, she seemed pretty cool. I think she might have been the last unlock within the game, but you didn't get to see very many of her. You have Thorn, which you can see is the character on the assist there, doing 904 damage. A lot of people were saying that she was really good, but I never saw her do well. The character Thrash, I have only won against a team that had Thrash twice. Every other time when a team had Wrath on, we lost, because he would just do 20, 24, 25 kills. He would do an insane amount of kills. And some characters are better at killing than others. Some characters are better at maybe killing minions. Some characters, of course, healing characters. So, you know, there's definitely different roles that you can play depending on what playstyle you want or what your team needs. And like many other MOBAs, you can only have one of each character that is available. So you can only have one Oscar Mike, only one Wrath, only one Arendi. You know, you can only have one of each, but, you know, there's more, you know, there's only 6 or 5 people on your team, so there's going to be plenty of characters to choose from. So even if you only like 3 or 4 characters, chances are one of them will be available to you. And it is first come, first serve, based off of, I don't know, who joins the lobby, or, you know, who's hosting, or what have you. I don't know exactly how they do it. We can learn a little bit about that later. But there were definitely some characters that were obviously better than others at, you know, sometimes certain things, and sometimes just completely overall. So there definitely will be balances that I think need to be struck in certain cases, but there's always going to be that disparity there when you have classes that are so different from one another. But I really found myself loving playing the objective, loving working with my teammates, you know, giving them support, dropping down the supers like you would in any other MOBA, or, you know, other games that are adopting these, you know, long cooldown super abilities. And I was having my fun. I was definitely having my fun doing a lot of different things. I loved Oscar Mack because the amount of DPS he could pull out, and the fact that he had some survivability in there. And I was getting a decent amount of kills with him. This wasn't my best showing. This was just when I had time to record instead of live stream, because I was doing a lot of live streaming on this beta, and I found myself having a better time than I thought that I would. I figured I'd just give it a shot, but then I'd really get into Overwatch. But now it's to the point where I'll wait for the Overwatch beta. I do have it already pre-ordered, so maybe I buy that and I buy Battleborn. Maybe the differences between them are going to be so great that you don't feel the need to compare them, even though they have some similar qualities and come out near the same time frame. So I definitely found myself liking a lot of things about this game. There were definitely things that I thought were kind of lame, but overall, I found myself increasingly having fun with this game, and that's the biggest thing for you. Final score there is 24 with 9 kills, 2 deaths, 6 assists, and 14 minions kills. That was mostly, looking at killing other people since we had such a big lead. I didn't feel the need to destroy minions as much as I would in other games, but I definitely had a good time and might be picking up the game. I'm still a little bit on the fence about this, so we'll see. It comes out very, very soon, so maybe I'll give it a try, because it was a lot of fun, and I found myself having a little modicum of success even in a beta where everyone hasn't figured out all the best stuff yet. And for those that are new to the genre, might be overextending some things than they would be in other things. So yeah, those are just my thoughts on the beta. Let me know what you guys thought about the characters, how much you played, whether you're thinking about picking up this game, because it definitely, had my interest, and now it has my attention.